Welcome to Leadership Devotionals. We are in the fifth installment of the making of a leader, and we are in the final process on how leaders are made. It is subtitled Success Through Hardships. Before we had Some Are Born With It, the role of failure, crisis, and now that's life experiences, personal struggles, and now the role of hardships. So many of history's famous leaders suffered major failures, crises, and disappointments that these traumas seem to appear to be a prerequisite for leadership success. If any conclusion can be drawn from the biographies of well-known leaders, it is that none enjoyed an easy path to greatness. It could in fact be argued that had they avoided these hardships, greatness would have eluded them. That, comes with a popular saying that goes, "A smooth sea never made a skillful sailor." But it would also be incorrect to conclude that hardships and failures always produce successful leaders. Just as, on the other way around, it would be simplistic to assume good leaders emerge only out of adversity. The key to leadership development when it comes to the factor or the influence of hardship lies not in the experiences, whether the experiences are good or bad, but in the person's response to these events. In fact, here is a beautiful insight I want to share with you. It has been said that tragedy is not an event, but rather the interpretation of an event. I repeat it, and this is a beautiful insight. It says, tragedy is not an event, but rather the interpretation of an event. When some people face hardships, they become bitter and fearful, and they quit trying. While others suffer similar trials, but choose, they suffer the similar trials, but they choose instead to redeem their suffering by learning from their misfortune and growing stronger from the experience. The distinguishing characteristics of successful leader is they use their experiences as learning tools, as stepping stones, and they gain renewed motivation from their hardships or failures. Let me share with you this popular President of the United States. He is the 16th President of USA, Abraham Lincoln. And together with it, his famous failures and hardships. Abraham Lincoln was born in a poor family with a one-room log cabin. At age 9, his mother died. At 19 years old, his sister died. Then 3 years later, in 1831, he failed in business. In 1832, he ran for his state legislature and lost. 1833, he borrowed some money from a friend to begin a business, and by the end of the year, he was already bankrupt. He spent the next 17 years paying off his debt. In 1834, he ran for state legislature, and this time he won. However, in 1835, he was engaged to be married, but his sweetheart died and his heart was broken. In 1836, he had a total nervous breakdown and was in bed for 6 months. In 1838, he sought to become Speaker of the state legislature, but he was defeated. In 1840, he sought to become elector, but again he was defeated. In 1843, he ran for Congress and lost. In 1846, he ran for Congress again. This time he won, and so he went to Washington and did a good job. Some kind of positive already there. In 1848, he ran for re-election to Congress. And guess what? He lost. In 1854, he ran for Senate of the United States. Again, this time he lost. In 1856, he sought the vice presidential nomination at his party's national convention. He got less than 100 votes. In 1858, he ran for U.S. Senate again. And again, he lost. Probably this would be his last failure. Because after what matters most is not how many times you fail, but that you never stop trying. And Abraham Lincoln is a testament of that. Enduring so many great failures in life, the great Lincoln never quit and stretched a long road of failures to the destination of success. Hurdling over obstacles coming now and then. And in 1860, he was finally elected as President of the United States. Everything, failure as well as successes, became stepping stone to his presidency. In this sense, Lincoln's entire life prepared him for his future executive leadership role. And if you asked historians today to rank the top 5 presidents of the United States, Abraham Lincoln will be among the top 5. Leaders are not people who escape failure, but rather they are people who overcome adversity. Failure and personal crisis will not disqualify you for leadership. However, failure to learn, okay? Now this is the catch. Failure to learn and grow from your mistakes and hardship may prevent you from developing into the leader God intended you to be. God can use adversity to build certain qualities such as humility, integrity, or faith. Mark this. God can use adversity to build certain characteristics and inner traits in your life, such as humility, integrity, and faith. Faith is one of the most important character traits of great leaders. Faith deep within your character that could not only be similarly fashioned through a life of comfort and success. To close, let me share with you the experience of King David. King David was a shepherd, yes. He was subjected to hardships. In fact, he claimed that he killed a lion, he killed a bear, those wild animals that would come and eat his flock. And when God asked Samuel, Prophet Samuel, to anoint the next king of Israel, even though King Saul was still alive, he directed Prophet Samuel to go to the house of Jesse and there anoint David, who is like the youngest of the brood of so many brothers. He was still a young lad. And God has prepared him to be a great king someday. What did God do? While he was there in the court of King Saul playing his harp, because King Saul has a temper. The time, remember, he was already anointed by Prophet Samuel to be the next king. It's not going to be the son of King Saul, Jonathan, but God has chosen David. And so, while he was there playing his harp, King Saul, in a fit of anger, threw a javelin on David. And eventually, when this get repeated all over again, eventually David has to flee to the wilderness. David has to hid among the caves. David has to, elude the pursuing troops of King Saul, to live a life of hardship. In fact, even have to ask bread, have to ask food from people that they meet. That was the life of David. It was a life of hardship. He has to sleep in the earth, in the cave of Adullam. And he has to subsist on the generosity of people to give him food. In fact, one time, he has to play insane. Otherwise, he will be thrown into prison or killed by a foreign king. It was such a hard life for David. But as we know here that God can use adversity. Here in David's life, God used adversity to build leadership qualities in him. Qualities of humility, integrity, and a deep faith in God. It was God's sustaining grace that sustained David through all the days while he was hiding from King Saul. And we know what kind of King David became when he became king. In fact, I would surmise that he was the greatest king of Israel there is. Up to now, we can still see the Star of David. Up to now, people are still singing his psalms. Up to now, people are still telling about his story. He is one of the greatest conquerors that has expanded the territories of Israel during his reign. God prepares his leaders, and sometimes he uses adversity, he uses crisis, he uses failures, he uses hardships, he uses personal struggle in order to mold the character in you to become a great leader. And so, fellow leaders, don't back down when failures come, but rather learn from it and make it as a stepping stone towards a transformational, authentic, and great leadership. Yes, build your faith in God through all of these hardships, and He will not fail you. He will always hold your hand through all these challenges so that you will emerge to be a great leader that He has planned for you to be. God bless you.